Hey, what's good, guys? Clutch here, and Essam here, back with another video. And today's gonna be talking about the Houston Texans. And when you look at the Houston Texans wide receiver room, there's three guys, and each of those three guys, at least in my opinion, are very much capable of getting 1,000 yards. Whether it's Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Stefon Diggs, I think any of them is easily capable of getting 1,000 yards. We've already seen Nico Collins do it last year. We've seen, of course, Stefon Diggs do it the last, what was it, like seven-ish years or something like that. And Tank Dell was on pace for 1,000 yards until, of course, he had that injury with his leg. But each of these guys, I think they're very capable of getting 1,000 yards. But in every wide receiver room, there's always that one guy that the quarterback and that the offense really leans to in these tough situations, in these third and shorts, and these potential fourth downs, and these red zone situations. In any situation, they might just need a completion. And I think you can make the case for any of these guys being that particular guy. I think you've seen Nico Collins be that guy at times last season. You've seen Tank Dell be that guy at times last season. And in my opinion, I think the guy that's going to do that wasn't even here this past season. And that guy is Stefon Diggs. When you look at Stefon Diggs, the last time he didn't have a 1,000-yard season was in 2017 with the Minnesota Vikings, and he was in his third year. And even in that year, he got 850 yards and 8 total touchdowns. So it's not like he had I wouldn't say a bad year, but I mean, he was still young to the league. He was a third-year player, a fifth-round pick. I mean, he was doing good for himself, but he wasn't that 1,000 yards Stefon Diggs that we've seen over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over the last 6 years. And I think he's going to continue that trend this season. I think he's going to have another 1,000-yard season. I can see 2 of the 3 Texans wide receivers getting 1,000 yards this season. I'm going to just say it's going to be Nico Collins and Stefon Diggs. I think Tank Dell is probably going to get another 850, something like that, 850 to 900 yards. And I think that's a very successful year for Tank Dell. And then, of course, for the other two, Nico Collins and Stefon Diggs. But the point of this video is going to be who's the Texans' true number one wide receiver. Now, of course, when you ask D'Amico Ryans, when you ask Bobby Slowick, when you ask any of the wide receivers, and even when you ask CJ Stroud, they're all going to say there's no true number one. All of these guys can be a number one on any given week. And yes, I agree. That is very much the case. It's going to depend on what type of defense you're playing, on what type of weather you're playing in. Are you going to throw it deep? Are you going to throw it short? Blah, blah, blah. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of factors that go into it. But there's always going to be that one guy in the offense that when you, as I said earlier, when you really, really need a first down, whether it's a third and short, fourth and short, or in the red zone, you really, really just need a completion, I think Stefon Diggs is going to be that guy. Now, Stefon Diggs, he's probably got the best hands, I think, in the wide receiver room. I think I'll feel pretty comfortable saying that. I think Nico Collins also has very, very good hands. Same thing with Tank Dell. But I think it's just incomparable to Stefon Diggs. I mean, we've seen Stefon Diggs do it for, almost 9 years now? Or this is going to be his 9th year, 10th year. So we've seen him do it for a long time. Nico Collins, he had a very, very great season last year with, 1,200-something yards. But we only have a 1-year sample size of that. Stefon Diggs, he's done it, and he's proven to do it on 2 different teams. And I think he's going to very much do it on this third team, with it being the Houston Texans. And I think Stefon Diggs is going to ultimately be that number one wide receiver. When you need a big play, when you need a quick little slam, when you need a quick little out route just to get some quick yards, I think it's going to be Stefon Diggs. Obviously, as I said, it's going to depend on the situation, what type of defense you're playing, just where you are on the field. Do you need a bigger target like Nico Collins on a quick little fade route or something like that? Obviously, it's going to depend. But Stefon Diggs, I think anywhere he goes, he's just not going to let himself be that second option. I think he just has that mindset. He's not going to let himself be second to nobody. I don't care if you have a Nico Collins in there. I don't care if you have a Tank Dell in there. In his head, in his mind, he's going to be that number one guy. And I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, we've seen that all throughout training camp, really, I feel like. We've seen multiple beat reporters and multiple different people who cover the team. I mean, we've seen, if you follow Landry Locker, he's a very good follower. He's said pretty much throughout all camp, he thinks Stefon Diggs is going to be the number one wide receiver from what he's seen. Seth Payne, same thing. All these other guys, there's a lot of guys that cover the team, really, but those are the 2 main guys that I've heard say that Stefon Diggs is probably going to be the number one guy, and I have to agree. I mean, for mentions that I've stated, or for reasons that I've mentioned. I mean, in important situations, you're going to go to the guy that you trust the most, and last year it was Tank Dell and Nico Collins, but this year is definitely going to change, I think. I mean, you have the safe the safer hands with Stefon Diggs, the better route runner with Stefon Diggs, the guy who's been in the league, seen more defenses in Stefon Diggs. I think that's another very underrated part. Stefon Diggs, just by being in the league for way longer than any of these other receivers, I feel like he has the advantage of being able to have seen more defenses, to be able to have seen more coverages. And Stefon Diggs, another thing is he played in the AFC for a while with the Bills. And the Houston Texans, of course, as we know, they're in the AFC, so they're going to be playing a lot of these teams. They've played the Ravens, they've played the Chiefs, they've played guys like that. And same goes with the Houston Texans. I mean, they're in the same conference, so there's another thing like that. Similar defenses he's seen, stuff like that. So, yeah, for me, I think Stefon Diggs, he's going to come into this offense week 1 against the Colts. I personally think on week 1, he's going to make a name for himself already. Not really make a name. Obviously, we know him. But he's going to make a name to be that number 1 wide receiver. I think he's probably going to have like an 8-catch, 95-yard game or something like that. Maybe, I don't know, something like that. I think he's going to have a lot of receptions come week 1. Honestly, I can see Stefon Diggs having way more. Let's see. Let's play a little game here. Do I see Stefon Diggs having more receptions or more yards? I mean, like averaged up. Like, you can see a guy get 80 receptions but have well over 1,000 yards, stuff like that. Like, he's averaging 15 to 17 yards a catch. Let's see. I think I could see Stefon Diggs having more receptions, personally. We've seen Stefon Diggs have a lot of big plays in camp. We've seen him have a 65, 70-yard bomb thrown by C.J. Stroud, I think last week in camp or something like that. A bunch of Texans reporters were going crazy about that throw. They said it was the best throw they've ever seen in any Texans training camp since they've started covering the team. I think that was, who said that? That was part of 6'10", one of the 6'10 guys, Pendergast. Sean Pendergast said that it was the best throw that he's seen by any Houston Texans quarterback make since he started covering the team. So I think that says a lot about C.J. Stroud and, of course, Stefon Diggs as well. Because, 65, 70 yards, to not really give up on the route. When you run, I would say maybe about 40 yards, 35 yards downfield, at that point, if the quarterback hasn't let go of the ball, you're probably going to slow down. You're probably going to give up on the route. But Stefon Diggs kept running, and what do you know? C.J. Stroud, he showed off his arm strength and got the ball all the way down there. I think they said it was 70 air yards or something like that. Because, I think they were counting air yards or something like that. So, let's see. C.J. Stroud was probably 5 to 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage when he made that throw. So, let's assume it was a 60 to 65-yard throw from the line of scrimmage. So, that's pretty cool to see. Stefon Diggs still running past defenses, and I think that's going to be another thing for the Houston Texans. You're going to be able to drop a lot of different schemes, a lot of different routes, put Nico Collins on, a curl or the slant, put Tank Dell on a crosser, and just let Stefon Diggs just take the top off the defense. Obviously, he probably doesn't have the same speed he used to. He's probably maybe a little bit slower, but when you're as good as a route runner as Stefon Diggs, I don't think it matters too much. Yes, you do need speed, but Stefon Diggs, he can just do a little stutter step, and boom, he's past everybody already by the time you know it. So yes, I think Stefon Diggs, the ultimate point of this video was just to kind of just spill my mind. I think Stefon Diggs is going to be the number 1 wide receiver for this team. If you do happen to draft any of the Texans' big 3 wide receivers in fantasy football this year, I think it should be Stefon Diggs. And I think that's what I'm going to do in my league as well. I think I'm going to draft Stefon Diggs. He's going pretty late as well. I think he's going in almost the 3rd round now in some drafts. If you do play fantasy football, that's pretty late for where Stefon Diggs usually goes. Usually he would be easily a 1st-round pick. Now I've seen him go late 2nd, early 3rd, somewhere around there. So if you are playing fantasy football and you do want to choose one of the Texans wide receivers, I think it has to be Stefon Diggs. I think he's going to be the safest bet. Or honestly, I don't know. I can see Nico Collins being a really, really safe bet as well. Any of these guys can really be safe bets, but I feel like any given week, another one of these guys can just put up a dud. Put up maybe 7, 8 fantasy points, not really do nothing on the field, maybe 3 catches, 40 yards, something like that. I don't know, it's just really going to depend. But yeah, as I said, the overall point of this video, just voice my opinion on why I think Stefon Diggs is going to be the number 1 wide receiver. He was the number 1 in Minnesota. He was the number 1 in Buffalo. And I don't think he's going to let, as good as Nico Collins is and Tank Dell is, I don't think he's going to let either of those guys be the number 1 wide receiver in this offense. Yes, again, as I've said, all of these guys have said, there's not going to be a true number 1. It's going to depend, blah, blah, blah. I agree, but when those situations do come, when those situations do arise, you need a quick first down, a quick little throw, quick little play just to get momentum, whether it's a 3-yard, 4-yard pass, just throw the ball in front. I think that guy is going to be Stefon Diggs. And a very underrated part about his game is his yak. He's able to catch the ball and just make people miss right after the catch. I mean, we've seen it multiple times. You saw it last year against Miami. I think it was like a 25, 30-yard catch downfield, and then he did like a spin move, like he was going to go out of bounds, but he spun towards the sideline. He just absolutely broke one of the Miami DBs. We've seen it multiple times last year, the year before, throughout his whole career. I think one of the most, if not the most underrated part about Stefon Diggs' game is his yak ability. And I hope we're able to see that here in Houston. As I said, I think he will have a lot of receptions, so that should be good for his yak. I could see a lot of receptions being little quick outs. We've seen that in training camp. If you've gone to any camps or seen any videos, a lot of Stefon Diggs' really big plays have come from quick little out routes. Quick little out routes right at the first down, quick little out routes maybe 5 yards ahead of the first down, stuff like that. And that's where Stefon Diggs, that's where the money is for him. I mean, quick little out routes, quick little slants, quick little bubbles. Just get the ball in his hands, let him run a little quick little route, beat his man, and boom. I think that's what's going to be the bread and butter for this Texans offense. And, of course, Nico Collins and Tank Dell, we're going to see them work as well. But I would really, really keep my eyes on Stefon Diggs. I think he's going to have like a 1,200-yard season, to be honest with you. Last year, he had 1,183 to be exact, just under 1,200. But, again, you have to see. At the end of the season, or really the second half of the season, he kind of slowed down a lot. And it wasn't because of him. I mean, it was because of the offensive coordinator in Buffalo, the change of the offense. They try to make it more spread, try to hit everybody, not just really force feed Stefon Diggs. And, I mean, it kind of worked, kind of didn't. I mean, I guess it depends on who you ask. But yeah, I think Stefon Diggs, he's probably going to have maybe 1,250 yards this season. But yeah, let me know what y'all guys think. Do y'all think Stefon Diggs is going to be the clear-cut number one wide receiver for this Houston Texans team? Or do you think it's going to be Nico Collins or Tank Dell? Or do you just believe all of the coaches and think, oh, it's going to depend? I mean, obviously it's going to depend week in and week out, but one week is this guy, next week is this guy, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, let me know what y'all guys think about the video. It's been Clutch here and Timid, and hope you guys have a good day. Peace.